What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. So in this video I'm going to be showing you the projects I made with the stuff that Nicole had sent me for our DIY Dollar Tree challenge. So the challenge was to make projects with the stuff that was sent to us. So I'm going to be starting off with this wooden plaque and 4 of this sliced up birch stick, and then I'm going to be using the long skewers. So I'm just positioning how I think it's going to go. I'm actually going to cut this skewer down to about 2.5 inches. Some of them did not go like exactly 2.5 inches, which I was okay with in the end, but I really tried to get them as even as possible. It's kind of hard though, honestly. Anyways, I just used, these are from Dollar Tree. They're actually for cutting like your branches and stuff down outside on like plants. So I just used that to just kind of score the wood, and then I snapped it in half. Then I was going back through each one and using my reusable file to file down any like jagged edges, so it looked more like a clean finish. So now I'm hot gluing the sliced birch wood stick, whatever this thing's called. I'm gluing them down, and these are going to be the feet on this little tray that I'm making. Alright, now once that is glued down, I'm going to start gluing down my little sticks. I started on the edge of one end. Alright, this is how it looks with all of the pieces glued down. Now I could have just left it this way, but I wanted to add a little touch to it, my own little flair. So I just got some twine. Now this twine was obviously not added in with the stuff she gave me, so I just wanted to go around it with the twine on the top, kind of back and forth, back and forth. I wanted this almost to resemble like a beach fence, if that makes sense. Like a beach by the ocean, like kind of like a fence. I don't really know. That was kind of my inspiration for creating this piece. Alright, moving on to the next project. I'm going to be using the cubes. I think it was a 36 pack, if I remember right. I'm not sure, I threw away the packaging and just showing you the cubes. I'm going to drill holes in the middle of each cube, but I wanted to point out that see how this one specifically, how the lines on it are curved on that side? Well, I guess this is not a good one right here. Let's try a different one. This one here, okay, so you can see the lines are mainly straight. We want that to be our facing side and drill the hole through the side that does not have the straight lines, if that makes sense. Alright, now that you've completed that, got all of them with holes in it, we're just going to string them together with twine. that simple. So we're basically just creating like our own wooden beads with square ones instead of round ones, since I've never seen square ones on YouTube anyway. So I decided to go ahead and make these into beads. Then once I had all of them strung on to the twine, I wanted to go ahead and add fringe on each side. So I just took the twine and I wrapped it around my hand several times, holding one end. After I've wrapped it about, I don't know, like 10 times or so, then I'm gonna go ahead and cut one end. And then we're gonna bunch it all up together like this. And in the middle of it, I'm gonna tie the end piece of the wooden beads around it and just wrap it around. This will really secure it in place. And then we're just going to tie it off by taking one of the other strands that are hanging and tying a knot with the end piece that we just wrapped around. Just tie like 2 knots and then cut off the excess, and you have beautiful fringe on the ends of our wooden beads. Then we're going to go ahead and trim off the excess on the ends, just so everything does look really nice and straight. So just these little straggling pieces, bye, snip them off. Okay, that is our fringe. We're going to create one for the other side. And at this point, you can go ahead and leave it if you want to leave it like this, or you can go ahead and paint how I'm going to be doing this. So I wanted a really boho style piece of beadwork, I don't know. So I painted random ones white, and then I drew random symbols on some other ones, kind of just all sporadically throughout this piece. I thought it would give it more like a, I don't know, Aztec or just different Indian vibe. I'm not really sure, you guys. Well, anyways, you don't have to do it exactly like this. If you wanted it to be more of like a farmhouse style, on the blocks you could actually like paint little letters that say like welcome to my home or live, love, laugh, or something like that, like some kind of phrase that will fit on all these cubes, and that would look super cool as well. And you could just display it like flat on the table. I actually ended up wanting to hang mine up on the wall, like up and down wise instead of like flat wise. Okay, the next project, I'm going to be using the 2 pots that Nicole sent me. So this part was optional, but I wanted to create like super pretty gray, rustic pots. To create this look, I used white and black, and I just went back and forth and then added some water to mix them together. That way it gave it this like really rustic look. So anyways, after it dried, I went ahead and I reused this foam from these little pots from succulents I got from Dollar Tree. So I'm just taking the foam out and I'm shoving it down into this pot. Alright, now I'm going to add a little bit of wire on the ends of these succulents. And I'm showing you the rocks I'm using. The rocks I actually just got from outside. So anyways, I'm just taking like a little, maybe like 20 gauge wire, and I'm actually going to be putting it on the ends of each succulent, so I'm able to push the wire down into the foam so that the succulents kind of really grasp onto the foam, if that makes sense. So the piece of wire right now, I'm just twisting with these wire pliers, and I want this little teeny curly Q on the end. That piece is actually going to be poked down into the middle of this specific succulent. And I did get all these succulents from Michael's, if you saw my previous video on that. So that way that wire doesn't like come through the succulent, if that makes sense. It's able to hold on to it. So this one I'm just taking some hot glue, putting it into the little teeny hole on the upside down of the succulent, and then I'm just taking the piece of wire and I'm pushing it into that little hole. Alright, so now that all my succulents are ready to go, I'm going to start filling this with rocks. So right now I'm just hot gluing individual rocks in there so that I know that they are glued in. But you can always just take hot glue and just squirt it all around and dump the rocks in there. So right now I'm just putting the succulents down into the foam, putting hot glue on the ends of the wire or the ends of the succulent. Just like so. Then I'm just going to take the remaining rocks and I'm going to glue them down around the space that you see in the inside here. I'm trying to push it down onto the foam or the side of the pot, not really on the succulent. At some point I ended up just taking some hot glue and squeezing it down in there randomly, trying to bend the succulents away from it, and then I just took a clump of the rocks and just dropped it down into the glue. This is probably the easiest method to go a little faster, but not all the rocks will stick. After about 20 minutes of adjusting this is how they turned out. I think they're so cute. I do recommend painting the paint more down in there so that you don't see the side of the old terracotta color pot. Anyways, now I'm using the fishnet that Nicole sent me. We're going to actually be making a macrame, I guess, macrame plant hanger with this. So I'm just tying like a loop on one end. We're just tying a simple knot like this. Then once that's done, so here's the knot, we're going to take this part and just stretch it out. I probably went about a third up and stretched it out. I didn't use too much of the fish net. So then once it's stretched out around the pot, and I know that it's gonna, hold the pot, I then started to hot glue two of these together, like the strands. I'm not even sure what this is called exactly, but here, let me get a different view so you can see what I'm talking about. So the two that were laying next to each other, I hot glued those together. Then I left one in between. Then here's another set of two I glued together that I'm holding. Then the next one would just be one. So I did like two together and then a spacing of one. Then I glued two more together and then a spacing of one. I hope that makes a little sense. So for this part, I actually end up hot gluing the bottom of the pot to the bottom of like the piece that's hanging right here. So I glued that down first so I knew that would be straight in the middle. Then I pulled each of the sides in a little bit and hot glued those in place. That way I know this thing was not going to move around on me. As you can see, here's the back. I did go around and glue all these pieces down in place after I got the proper spacing. Once that was glued in place, I then took the top and made a loop. So I pulled all that extra you know what I mean, pulled the fishnet through, and then I have my loop. Then I tied a knot around the bottom part of it. I hope that's making sense. So I was left with a loop that was able to hang the whole entire thing up with that loop. So I ended up cutting it like this. You want to cut a little extra, that way you're able to take that piece and hot glue it around, wrap it around that knot to hide the knot. And it will create like this really nice finished look on the top of it. I'll show you in the next clip here. Alright, I really hope you guys enjoyed that project. Now I'm moving on to the fourth project here. I'm actually going to be using the dog leash. And again, all these items were sent to me by Nicole. I will leave a link down in the description below so you guys can check out her video of the stuff she made with the stuff that I sent her. So the dog leash, I just end up taking it apart like this. You will need a seam ripper. Or you can use scissors, but you got to be very careful not to cut the dog leash. Just cut the threads that are holding it together. Once it's cut, you're able to slip off the black piece and then obviously slip off the silver little piece. And I am going to keep those pieces for future use, so don't throw those away. So now I'm going to kind of shape it in a circular motion to get it started. I'm using hot glue to glue the dog leash / rope in on itself, and then we're just going to coil it on itself with hot glue. So it's pretty simple. Seen a lot of tutorials just using like regular rope, so we're basically just making a coil with this. We're going to coil it on itself with the hot glue. So I do want to point out, you want to try and put this hot glue on the bottom side as much as possible, because when you squeeze it together, the hot glue does seem to come up, and this is our finished side, so we don't want hot glue like showing, obviously. It'll not look nice. So what I end up doing with these is making a coaster with it. You could probably keep going, like buy another dog leash and make like a really big, like maybe a coil basket you can hang on the wall, like wall decor. That'd be really pretty with this design on the dog leash. So this was the entire dog leash right here. The very end of the rope, I decided to pull out the rope part, I guess, that's inside of it, and then snip it at an angle, and then I'm going to pull it down like this so it covers it. Then I'm going to bend it inwards like this and put lots of hot glue and just stick it back in there like that to create this teeny little loop on the end. Now that loop is going to be able to like hang this up if I wanted to hang it up. I just thought it gave a really nice touch. So on the back side, so that, you know, this lays a little more flat like on your coffee table, because it is a coaster, I end up using the felt that Nicole sent me. And we just did lots of load, lots of load, lots of hot glue. And then I just stuck the felt on there and pressed firmly. And then I cut off the excess on the edge, so it was like nice and round. Alright, if you guys like that project, leave me a thumbs up. I really appreciate that. So this next project, this is our 5th project with the items Nicole sent me. I'm actually just taking the rope and doing the same thing as I did in the last project and coiling it upon itself and using hot glue. I used this empty glass bowl as a reference to create a little bowl with the rope. I wanted this cute little bowl. I thought it would be super like boho, I guess. I don't know. It could also be farmhouse. Alright, now that I'm all done hot gluing this rope together, here's our bowl. I just took some tape and I angled it like this to create a triangle. And I matched that triangle on the other side. So the points would obviously come together as so. I ended up taping it on the bottom as well. That way I didn't get paint on the bottom of this little rope bowl like this, so it creates a perfect triangle. Then I went ahead and took some black paint and I painted the inside of these triangles. I made sure that I stamped or kind of like as a sponge motion with the brush to really get it down in there. And I tried really hard to go back and forth very carefully on the edges of that tape so that it didn't bleed through onto the other side of the tape. I could have left it like this or created a different pattern or design, but I end up doing the triangle again but reversed, or I guess upside down, on the other sides of these black triangles. And I used white paint instead of black paint. Let me know in the comments below if you liked this project or not, and if you would have done a different paint design or whatever on it. So you could put beads in it like this, or you could just display it as just a normal bowl in your home, decorative piece. I thought it was cute. Alright, so I apologize, my couch is a little dirty from all these little pieces of the bark coming off of this. So I had my leftover pieces, because I used the 4 for that other little tray project. And I went ahead and lined everything up in like a large to small order. You know what I mean, so you can see it. And I found these little eye hooks that I had laying around. It was in a hook assortment kit that I got from Lowe's for like $5. and it comes with a lot of multiple different hooks. And I've never, used these ones, so I figured might as well put them to use. So what I plan on doing here is in the middle of each one of these pieces, I'm going to hook one of these little hooks just by simply, screwing it into the middle and then screwing it on, to both sides. We're going to go ahead and do every single one, and that way this has a little hook on each side so we can latch these each together. So we're going to be making like a link with this. So I'll show you how to do that. So it's fairly simple once you get it started, and you're able to just screw it in there, and it actually goes in really nicely. And we're going to do both sides of each one. And once I'm, done with each piece, I'm going to try to lay them back in order so I don't get anything out of order. Alright. And we want to, when we have each side in, we want to try to line up each circle so it's like flat on one side, if that makes sense, like this. Alright, I got all of them done. Now we're going to attach them. So I'm going to attach them just using like a natural jute. I got this from Hobby Lobby. It was $3.49, and then if you use a coupon, I think you can get it down to like $2.99 or something like that. So anyways, I'm just going to cut off little strands about 4 inches long, and we're going to tie them together right from here to here. Just like this. We're going to attach all of them together. Okay, so as you can see, when I started with the bigger side and worked my way down to the smaller, I used a longer piece of twine, and then it slowly started to get shorter as it went all the way down to the smallest side. So that way when you like hang it up, it really creates this really nice dimension of like getting smaller. So I think that's important to make your pieces different lengths in between each one. Then on the top of it, I'm going to go ahead and tie a piece of twine so I'm able to hang it up. And on the bottom, I'm going to add a little twine fringe piece. And you can customize this hanging piece however you want. You can paint on these pieces of wood. You can add little beads in between each one on the twine. However you want to do it. I think this is so beautiful. You could add more pieces so that they cling and hit each other, and put this as a wind chime outside.